It does seem that the president was right all along. By dependence upon China and selling our soul to them, we ended up putting ourselves in a very vulnerable position for things like this coronavirus.
That's exactly right. And thank you, Governor, for having me on. And look, you're seeing right now play out what President Trump tried to warn Americans about 4 or 5 years ago. Remember, the ruling class in our country, they have had an inside-out relationship with the Chinese Communist Party, with bad trade deals, with allowing them to build Confucius institutes on our college campuses, which not questioning their infiltration into our country, hacking our cyber grid, infiltrating the highest levels of influence in our media. And now you're seeing a global pandemic, trillions of dollars of wealth being lost because China lied. China could have come clean in early January and said that there was a growing pandemic happening in their country. And the World Health Organization and America would have thanked them for their honesty. They should have suspended all flights. They should have taken responsibility for their actions, and they did none of those things. And now you are seeing unspeakable loss, both financial, economic, and of course, the loss of life. So President Trump's agenda is being validated. And despite the left's best efforts to try to criticize him for being racially insensitive, for correctly categorizing this as the Chinese coronavirus, you're actually seeing his approval ratings go up. And a lot of the left was hoping that in the midst of this crisis that it would make him more vulnerable politically. We're seeing the exact opposite play out.
When Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman, part of the squad from Minnesota, compliments the president, when he gets kudos from New York Governor Cuomo and California Governor Newsom, some of them are having to recognize that his management of the crisis is exactly textbook quality management.
So now President Trump, he rebuilt the American economy once. He's going to have to rebuild it again. And neither time was it his fault that the economy was in a less than desirable situation. You're seeing Cuomo and Governor Newsom, two radical left-wing Democrat governors from New York and California, even compliment the president's decision-making and problem-solving here, whether it be cutting the red tape in the FDA or repositioning the USNS Mercy to New York City to allow a floating hospital to be created, or getting people the help that they need in this time of crisis. So the president, I think this is going to be the president's finest hour. And again, I think we as Americans need to unify and get behind the guidelines that the administration are issuing so that we can defeat this virus once and for all.
But it appears that a lot of the people on the younger end of the population spectrum tend to see this as no big deal. Many of them going on and partying hard on spring break, continuing their activities, almost feeling inconvenienced that they couldn't go to their bars and have a good time. What are they missing?
Two thoughts on this. Number one, they don't believe the media because the media said it was going to be the end of the world around every single corner. Trump got elected, the world was going to end. Trump decided to take out Qasem Soleimani. We're going to go to war with Iran. The Trump tax cut, Brett Kavanaugh. It's the boy who cried wolf. And eventually, the young people don't trust it. Number two, the pundits and politicians and prognosticators that have tried to invalidate this president for the last 3 or 4 years, saying that he's not duly elected, don't listen to him. Young people have been told to distrust him. The third thing is this, is that young people should know better despite those things. It's incredibly narcissistic and outrageous to go to the beach and continue to party when the country is going through this sort of virus fight. And we at Turning Point USA are trying to practice what we preach. We're giving people the option to work from home. Unfortunately, our entire campus schedule has been completely and totally shut down. But we're doing what we can. And for students out there, and especially for parents, I find no such humor in trying to defy these guidelines. And for young people who think they're invincible, just go read what's happening in France and Italy and Belgium, where some of the most intensive cases are actually people in their 20s and 30s. Young people might think they're invincible, and as someone who runs an organization that's on 2,000 high school and college campuses, pushing back very aggressively for students that think they're above this and totally invincible.
Charlie, you've got a best-selling book that's on fire right now, maybe more than ever because of the timeliness of it. Your book, The MAGA Doctrine. What is the MAGA Doctrine? How does that play out in real time, both through this crisis as well as through an election year?
I wrote the MAGA Doctrine to try to articulate the Trump philosophy because I was tired of left-wing pundits and prognosticators telling us what the president believed. And part of the MAGA Doctrine was being skeptical of our relationship with China and stronger immigration. There's that old expression, Governor, there's no atheists in foxholes. And I've added now, there's no globalists in pandemics. You're seeing Justin Trudeau, you're seeing the EU shut off their borders to travel. And all of a sudden, it seems like the entire world is taking a page from the MAGA doctrine that strong borders and stricter immigration is actually something that might help your people and actually might help your citizenry. There's so much negative and so much carnage that has come out of this virus. But one thing that I hope that we can learn is that China is not our friend, that China is our greatest enemy, that they should be held responsible for this. President Donald Trump said it from his first speech coming down that escalator. And if you actually go back to his early 1980s interview with Oprah Winfrey, President Donald Trump, then businessman Donald Trump, said China is ripping us off. They are laughing at us, and we have to do something about it. And now it's all coming to play. I write about it in the MAGA Doctrine through a 30, 40-year analysis of the philosophy of Donald Trump. And he's going to protect America from this silent killer. And we are going to be stronger than ever before, thanks to the MAGA Doctrine and President Trump's leadership.